Welcome back to Okaloosa Today on Cox Cable. I'm Doug Rayner with the City of Destin. We've just been talking with Ian Satter with the Florida Department of Transportation about pedestrian safety along Highway 98 in the Harbor District of Destin. And joining us right now to take his place would be Councilman Jim Wood, Destin City Councilman. Jim, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And Ken, you were with us just a minute ago. Ken Gallander, the Community Development Director for the City of Destin, and you wear a lot of different hats, but you're big in planning for the highways and our pedestrians and multimodal in the city, so we appreciate you being here again.
Glad to be here, Doug.
Well, with FDOT a minute ago, we were talking about what they're doing, enhancing some pedestrian safety things along the Harbor District, and we thought we'd bring Councilman Wood in here and talk a little more about the city's long-term, short-term vision for Highway 98 and what's important to us, why we're doing what we're doing. So, Jim, why don't you just kind of give us an overview of what's important to the City of Destin as far as pedestrian safety goes?
Well, first of all, pedestrian safety is very important to us. You know, we have our Harbor District is one of our main areas, whether it's tourism or residents. It gets a lot of foot traffic. So getting folks is we try to look at our parking issues in the harbor. We had to buy property on the north side of the road that was cheaper. Now, how to get folks across the highway to the amenities on the south side of the harbor.
Right.
So it's very important to get those crosswalks across the highway, however we decide to do that. That's still a work in progress with FDOT doing the warrant study, but it's very important. We've got some places where there's signalized crossings, some places where there's mid-block crossings, and you know, even once you build what you're going to do there crossing-wise, getting people to understand and use good judgment to go to those crosswalks and use them. You know, we sure don't want to have anybody make bad decisions and have the ramifications of those. So as we get those things that we can build to promote safety across the highway, get the crosswalks put in. I mean, we're going to eventually get whatever this crossing is, whether it's a hawk or a full signal, it's going to get done. It's going to take a little bit longer, but it's going to be a much safer way to cross. And people just use good judgment and go to those areas and make sure that you use them.
And you're referring to the Marler Street parking
Correct,
lot
yes.
on the corner of Marler Street and Highway 98. The city is putting together a really nice parking lot and is going to be able to really help the Harbor District people to park and move down to the south side. But part of that is, how do we get them across the street safely? And Ken, you're looking into that right now with a signal versus a hawk system. And tell us a little bit about that. Yeah,
what we're required to do is when you make any changes to that segment of Highway 98, you have to work with FDOT on ensuring that what you're doing there fits within the plan and what the highway is designed to do. And what Ian was saying before is working with the community, understanding their needs is what we've had to do. And in the Harbor District specifically there, and as Councilman Wood said, you have different types of crosswalks within that district. You have crosswalks at intersections, and you have crosswalks at mid-block where they're not really at an intersection. So what are the different means for people to get across there safely? And what we have to do is to do a study and work with FDOT about what is the logical best way to get that through economically feasible and all the variables involved in that. Where cars are turning, where cars are proposed to turn, how many cars are in that area, how many pedestrians are in that area, how many pedestrians are projected to be in that area. With the building of a new parking lot, we're introducing a way for a new movement of people from the north side to the south side and vice versa, obviously, to get back to their car.
Right.
So through that method is you could either use a full traffic signal where you have the movements of the cars are managed properly and the pedestrians are given the opportunity. And that's with a full traffic signal. Another method that is becoming very popular throughout the United States, and Councilman Wood mentioned that, it's called a HOC, and that's an abbreviation for, it's a hybrid type beacon, and it's pedestrian activated, and it's used to help manage or give the pedestrians the ability to cross safely and manage the cars as well. And certain systems actually go to a level of only one lane is actually stopped as the pedestrians move across those lanes. Those lanes then continue on, the pedestrian then activates the next segment. So you're keeping the movement of vehicles going while you're also taking care of the pedestrian safety in that environment. And it's wherever those devices are most applicable is where we would design them to be. And the council through great efforts, we had a workshop with FDOT back in the November timeframe, really analyzed this and have come up with a strong movement towards looking at how pedestrians move within that district.
That's right.
And it's a component to the multimodal, which is how are we moving cars, how are we moving people through walking, bicycling, and again, another component of that will be transit. And even another component of that is utilizing the water. And those are some of the things that we're really looking into.
And Councilman, you wear a couple of different hats. You're the chairman of the local transportation planning organization. So you see this a little more globally outside of just in Destin. How does Destin fare to the other areas that you're looking at, and how are we going to move forward here in Destin specifically?
I think we do very well compared to our other areas of Northwest Florida. You know, being both the chairman of the Okaloosa TPO and also sitting on a state MPOAC, Metropolitan Planning Organization, that I do quarterly, I've tried to push pedestrian safety issues through both those organizations. You know, anywhere in the Highway 98 area is tough when you deal with pedestrians. You know, there's lots of traffic all along Northwest Florida. Some places you got sidewalks and multi-purpose paths. Some places you don't. There's lots of driveway cuts. So there's lots of issues. It's not always the safest place for a pedestrian or a bike rider to be. So any amenities we can put in, more paths, more sidewalks, better signals, better education for our public so they understand what they should and shouldn't do is very important. So I think we're at a real good place. I really appreciate Secretary Prasad and his focus on pedestrian safety. You know, a lot of studies are done a lot of times in our bigger cities in Florida. Sometimes our smaller communities get forgotten, and they haven't forgotten about us. It's a good partnership. It's going to lead to good things for us.
That's right, and we're looking forward to that. Ken, you mentioned some things that the city's trying to do to improve our multimodal. You even mentioned waterways. What's going on the harbor that people might want to know about?
I mean, one way you could just look at this is with the public parking lot it'll be finalized, I believe, the end of April. It'll be complete. So the idea in its essence is you're driving into the Harbor District. You would park at the Marlowe Street parking lot. We will have a facility for people to then get out of their car, walk across and into the city's park and down to the Harbor Boardwalk. And what we've been able to do as part of our initiative about different modes of transportation for people to get around is to figure out ways to utilize the water. And we luckily have now 2 proprietors of a water taxi shuttle in Destin. And my staff and I and Councilman Wood actually went out with one of the proprietors to help us understand his system. And what we're going to do is we've actually implemented a stop at it's the Melvin parcel on the south side of Highway 98, where people can just contact the water shuttle, and they'll be able to then get on that shuttle and they'll go take them wherever they want throughout the harbor. Don't have to get back in their car and don't have to get back on Highway 98 and create that congestion and create any more conflicts that the pedestrians may experience. It's just thinking of different modes of getting around.
And that's exactly what we're looking for. Councilman Wood, you're an advocate for this kind of work and this kind of movement. And in your perspective, you see Destin going in the right direction?
I think so. You got to start someplace. You know, do you have enough destinations around the harbor to make all the stops you want to do? That's probably not there yet. I was just online this morning looking at lots of other communities that have water taxis and they have lots of amenities to go to. And it works really well. So I'm looking forward to, I've ridden the taxi before, I'm looking forward to see it in operation, and I think the citizens and residents are going to enjoy it. So.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, thanks for being here with us today. This is a really good topic. It's really good information. It looks like the city's really pushing to be pedestrian friendly, you know, build this boardwalk. How do you move people around on it? So your work as a councilman, as a TPO chairman, Ken, you as a planner and the director of our community development department, we appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And thanks for being here. We want to stay tuned next for Ted Corcoran with the City of Fort Walton Beach. Be sure to check out the city's Destin's website, cityofdestin.com. You can find more information about this and other things and other topics and news. We'll see you next time.